lying strong out there in the streets every single day. I got you.
Yeah, I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. As that alarm clock beeps and wakes you from your sleep, pull back the sheets, it's time to hit the streets. Dudes, fresh shave your face, girls put up your hair. Back breaking and aching from the equipment that you wear. Face to face with your locker, strapping on your vest. Pray to God it'll block a hollow point from your chest. Join up with the squad, that's the crew of the night. Here again, our evil man took another life. Got a price on your head, brother, better beware. Load up that Glock and prepare yourself for warfare. Spread grips to the concrete in this dead heat. Load up that Crown Vic and get back up on the beat. Play the fools what you get, not even a damn handshake. As the sun sets on that city landscape, nothing can stop you, snow, rain, or thunder. Gotta hold that blue line tight, you're the wolf hunter. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. No words can express the lack of respect. No arrest of a suspect's unchecked. They say you ain't shit and you always tell lies. It's so quick to pick up and call when victimized. Riots and protests, it's always us they blame. It's expected, not regretted when a hero cop is slain. Never freeze up in fear when everyone's stomachs and knots. Who else you know running towards a gunshot? You know you're not alone. Take a look around. Look past the hate that you feel surrounds your town. The civil unrest, it needs to be addressed. So obsessed with judgment in the form of protest. So quick to judge and point fingers and blame on the rifles and knives, and yet we can't take aim. In the streets and the chants, they can't be muted. We're on the marches when a hero cop is executed, huh? I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. Every push-ups for justice, each sit-ups for peace. Yet prepared for that battle waging up in the streets. Push the memories aside, keep the hate out of sight. Always on prowl for evil that lurks within the night. They said God made shepherds so that he could protect the flock. To overwatch and keep track of those that he's lost. When evil brings the fight, you know it's outnumbered. Sink your teeth in his back, you're the wolf hunter. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight. I will defend my brothers, I will defend the weak. I will pursue and fight evil so others may sleep. I am the sheepdog, protecting the night. Wolf hunters unite, bring it on. It's time to fight.
Guys, what do you guys think about that song, man?
I like it. I'm going to have to listen to it again just to get all the words out.
Bobby, what do you think, man? I know this isn't our generation. We're used to, sitting in the park. We're used to, Mexican por el rey. But, dude, Roger Demshot sent me this song, and he goes, David, please play it. He didn't have to say please. No, he had me at Good Morning, David. I'll tell you, I heard this song, and you know what? It's by a group, I believe they're from San Diego. They're called Wolf. They're called Forensic. And I actually bought their CD. Well, I bought it on iTunes. And this song is called Wolf Hunter. And you know what, Doug? I think they're either San Diego PD or sheriffs or they're law enforcement, because all their songs are on San Diego, and they're all rap like this. But they're about suicides, responding, PTSD. If you guys get a chance, it's called Wolf Hunter Forensic. I call Benny and I go, Benny, and he goes, hey, man, you been smoking weed or something? I go, bro, just listen to this song. You know what I mean? Benny always calls himself a wolf. I'm not a sheepdog, I'm a wolf. I go, órale, lobo. You know what I mean? We're sheepdogs. Put this song on, and once Benny heard it, right away he texts me. He goes, man, David, ta cabrón, this song is great. This is who we are. You know what I mean? We're there fighting. You know what I mean? Protecting the sheep. But guys, so this is going to be our new intro. We're going to use it on and off. Benny, I'll tell you that, Benny, the guy's a wizard when it comes to this. But guys, before we're still waiting for Chacon to log on, but we have a lot of material to cover. But let's do what we always do. Let's give everybody a warm welcome. And we'll start off with our sister all the way from Riverside. Ceci, una vez más, buenas noches. Thank you once again, sister, for always being by our side. We got from Thailand, man, our brother, Jim the Janice, Batman, and we got our faithful, man, just like Jim and Ceci. Good evening, Team 4, 1097, San Diego PD gang legend, Chris Kilby, and we have Roger Demshot. Thank you for this song, Big Roger, and thank you for taking on my calls every day, brother. You know what? God bless you. Thank you for this. And once again, the legend. And what are we saying here? They couldn't find ice cubes for their drinks. Okay, that's. I'll talk a little bit about that. And Benny, we're still waiting for Carlos Chacon. Benny's basically giving Carlos Chacon his props. One of the best PD detectives that he ever worked with in his career, without a doubt, Benny. We're waiting for him to log on. We got JC. Thank you for your service, JC. Washington, D.C., holding the line over there. Military line. Big J Juarez watching us once again. They ain't sheriffs. Sheriffs ain't got much rhythm. And neither do we, but it's a new generation, Roger. They might be. Guys, with that said, I apologize. Part of the reason we're late is I'm right now over here in Haines City, probably about 10 minutes away from Orlando. I'm babysitting two beautiful dogs, a full-bred German Shepherd and a special dog. What is he? Her name is Izzy. She's beautiful. And my son-in-law left to London for the week. He's handling some high-end contracts for his company. And my daughter, who's a teacher here, is here alone with my two grandchildren and these huge dogs. So I'm here for a week babysitting. They're actually babysitting me. You know, they're babysitting me, and I'm having a great time here with them. I couldn't bring my computer. I brought my laptop, and I've been having problems. But hey, aquí estamos. We're here. And once again, JC, we're definitely holding the line this weekend in inauguration. Cold as fuck there. We understand, JC, and thank you once again for your service. With that said, Bobby, let's start off with you. What are you drinking? What are you smoking? Let's start, man. Dispensa.
I'm on 2 months of slim down mode, so I'm not drinking. So I'm drinking, my doctor says, if you want to drink a soda, drink Zevia. It's made with stevia. So I'm drinking that, coffee, water, and a cigar for you Dodger fans out there. You went to Fine Ash Cigars when you came out here with me. Remember, David?
Yes, I did.
Cigar lounge.
Great place. Yes.
That's called Fine Ash, and they make their own cigar now. They got together with a company out of the Dominican Republic. So here it is. It's Ceniza Fina, and when the Dodgers won the World Series this last time, this is a smoke. They were smoking in the locker room. I don't know how they got a couple of boxes to the locker room, but this is what they were smoking. So I'm going to light it up right now.
Nice.
And it comes from Fine Ash. It's a really
So is that the first? Is that the first one you smoked, Bobby? So we don't know if it's strong or it's sweet.
I've smoked this before. I love this cigar. It's I like more of a bolder taste, but this is more of a has a hint of sweetness. It has a Corojo leaf. The Corojo leaf, to me, always has the good ones. Have almost a Cuban-esque flavor, but with a little sweetness, earthy. And I've been smoking these. I even have a couple. I have some more here that I brought. And but the Dodgers are smoking this in the locker room when they won the World Series.
That is so awesome. And because of that sweetness taste, I mean, with that coffee, I believe that cigar would fit perfectly with whatever Doug is drinking, because I know he's definitely drinking it straight. Tell us what you're drinking, Doug, and tell us about the drink.
That's right, Roger. No ice.
There it is. No ice. No ice.
No ice. I think I've shared this before. It's an American rye whiskey, and it's from a place called Flying Leap, and it's really nice. It's aged 4 years in a barrel, but it's made in Elgin, Arizona.
Okay.
So it's unusual, the area. I mean, I never knew that there'd be a small handcrafted distillery out there, but it's really nice. So if you're traveling across country, or if you're out in that area in Arizona, it's a beautiful part of Arizona. It's gorgeous out there. But stop by, and if you're not a whiskey drinker, they're also a winery. They make wines also. So,
tell us the taste. What are you tasting?
It's got a little bit of a bite. It kind of reminds me of if you like rye bread. You know how it's got that little bit of a bite at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really smooth, and it's just that it's like that pepper bite right at the backside at the end. But it's really nice. I really enjoy it.
Well, I'll tell you, Bobby. I'm salivating here because I could be smoking a cigar here because I'm in their garage. But you know what? Smoking that cigar that you have, Bobby, and him describing that rye, what he's drinking, that whiskey. Oh my God! Wish I had them both. But instead, I got Glen. My son-in-law has a bottle here of Glenfiddich. I just kicked it open. He has this, I guess, glass with a bullet going through it. I don't know if you could see it or not. I don't know why. He's not a cop or where he got it from. I think probably my wife gave it to him for Christmas or something. But with that said, guys, salud. Enjoy your drink. Enjoy your cigar, man. Guys, you know what? Let's go ahead and start off the show. Since we're still waiting for Carlos, when Carlos comes on, if he does come on, he's going to be talking about from 1988 to 1991 when he worked in Mexico. He was a Mexico liaison, and I did that for 5 years. I came years later, but the things he was telling me the other day that he was involved with the CIA, with ATF, with DEA, dude, it blew my mind because I thought I got involved in certain things in my 5 years there. The things that he got involved just blew my mind. I go, Carlos, you need to be on the show. You need to share these stories. They're unbelievable. But before we get started, Doug, you're going to take it from here. But before you do, I just got 2 quick videos to show. And here we go.
Cybertruck here. We had to transport this down to our fleet services so that we could really get through this thing. And I remind you that the subject inside wasn't able to be removed for a very long period of time because he was burnt beyond recognition. And so as we continue to move through this, I'm going to talk a little bit about his identity and what we believe, but I would like to highlight a couple of things that the teams found inside of the Cybertruck that are useful to the investigation. And that, first and foremost, is a military identification. We also found a passport. We found a Desert Eagle 50 caliber semi-automatic pistol. And if you'll notice on a lot of these guns that we're going to talk about here, they're almost just burnt beyond recognition as well. There's an SLR model B30 semi-automatic firearm, number of fireworks that were still in the vehicle that had to be removed. Notably, we found an iPhone and a smartwatch, and then several credit cards were also in the name of our subject. Our subject is 37-year-old Mathew Livelsburger. He's of Colorado Springs, Colorado, born July 22nd of 1987. Now, as you'll see here on a picture of his driver's license, let's see, the question really still remains for me, and I know that there's a lot of you folks in the media that are identifying this person as the person in our vehicle. As I mentioned to you already, his body is burnt beyond recognition, and I do still not have confirmation 100% that that is the individual that was inside of our vehicle. And so as I'm calling it now, the subject or person of interest, I will not come back until I have the confirmation through DNA or medical records that this is indeed, in fact, the subject inside of the vehicle. Now, further complicating this identification of this individual, we also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle. One of the handguns was found at his feet inside of the vehicle. Obviously, in how we're trying to identify him, and I'm feeling comfortable to give you this information, is a tremendous amount of substantial evidence to include he rented the Turo vehicle. There are 2 tattoos, one of which was on the stomach and one of which is on the arm. that we can see bits and pieces of it as in comparison to what it is that we now know he had on his body, that has given us a lot of confidence that this is, in fact, the same person, as well as which the clearly obvious, which is the credit cards, the military identification, the passport, and then furthermore, as you'll see here in see that there goes, that's north on the boulevard from Sands at 8:39, where he then immediately heads to the Trump Hotel, pulls into the valet area, and as of course you all know, the explosion occurs within 17 seconds of his arrival at the valet. There's some additional investigative updates that are going to be provided to you.
Doug, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, for those of those that are watching us or watching us later on, is get a chance, watch the Sean Ryan show. He did an interview, I want to say it was the day after this occurred, with a gentleman that has another podcast, and he doesn't have quite the number of people, but he's a former member of the armed forces also, and this guy had sent him a long email, Mathew had, regarding what was going on in his life at that time. And you know, there's, you know, it's understandable why people have all kinds of theories and conspiracy theories, if they want to call them that. I don't like to call things conspiracy theories, but I mean, these are some answers that need to take place. And I mean, foremost is, I mean, when the sheriff comes out and says the body was burned beyond recognition, I mean, how hot does that fire have to be to do that to a human body? And then come out and say that, oh, well, we could see tattoos, which is, you know, on the surface of the skin. And then, you know, I have questions about, you know, you saw the interior of the truck, and it was completely burned. It was black. There was nothing in there. I mean, if a gun's going to melt that much, I mean, how was an ID card and a passport survive? Where were they located might be helpful, but there's so many answers that we don't have. What I did like what he said was that he can't confirm that that's who that is. And if you go back and if anybody's had the opportunity to listen to that show and hear what he wrote in his email, this is I think he's with the 10th Special Forces Group, which is responsible for, I believe, Eastern Europe. So they have a base in Germany. I'm not sure where in Germany, and I think it's Fort Lewis in Colorado. And there was a lot of talk about how, you know, he was out of Fort Bragg with the other gentleman from the New Orleans incident. And so, you know, was it, you know, were they connected? Was there all that? And, you know, Fort Bragg is a huge place. Was this Green Beret ever stationed at Fort Bragg? Probably. He'd probably been there before, been there for training, but, you know, that's not what his unit was based at. That's not where they were based at. So, you know, you take that with a grain of salt. But, you know, he said that he had, you know, information regarding the drone issues, the drones on the East Coast, about how the U.S. and China had developed these, you know, these vehicles that can fly with, I guess it's kind of like an anti-gravity type thing. And that's what we've been seeing, and they've been seeing them for years. And if you look back over the years about, you know, fighter pilots, naval ships. In fact, there was one case a few years ago off the coast of San Diego where they were actually tracking these. I'll just call them UFOs. I know they have a new acronym for them, but I can never remember what it is. But they were tracking these UFOs, and there was actually two naval ships out there. One was an aircraft carrier, and one, I forgot what the other one was, but it was a smaller ship. The smaller ship was tasked with identifying and tracking those things, and the aircraft carrier had no idea that that activity was going on out there. But one of, some of the pilots had seen these, they describe them as tic tacs, like,
Did he freeze up on your end, Bobby?
Yeah, he froze up. Thought it was me.
Yeah. Let's see if he comes back on.
Let me send him a
Yeah,
message.
I thought it was me on my end too.
Let me send him a message.
Yeah. Bobby, also go ahead and send him the message while he comes back on. What's your opinion? Because I know you worked a lot of intel. You worked a lot with the CIA overseas. What's your opinion on that incident?
Hold on 1 second. He froze. I don't know. I think the problem is, if you notice, every case is different. We've had certain attacks that have happened. Vegas. So the shooter where there was the trans shooter that we know wrote a manifesto, and they fought tooth and nail to not release it. And it almost seems like for political reasons, some of these manifestos or information does not come out, does not get released. So all it does is just create suspicion among the public that, what are you hiding? I was one of those guys years ago. When I used to hear that JFK was killed by the CIA, I said, "Oh, you're crazy." The older I've gotten, I'm like, okay, I think they had to have something to do with it, because the longer I'm around government, especially when I worked overseas, you really start seeing the unelected Department of State diplomats who primarily come, foreign service officers who all attend some of the most elite universities our country has to offer, and almost all of them seem to be left of center. And when you hear what they're doing, it's like, well, we're not going to do what the president is saying. We're not going to do. I mean, when I was in Mexico, when Obama was president, I even saw a split between those loyal to Obama, those loyal to the Clintons, even on the left. And the ones loyal to the Clintons couldn't stand Obama. It was crazy. It was like, you would go to meetings and not, we just keep quiet, the law enforcement group. But I just think that when they don't release information, in a fashion that, because if they start holding, it just makes you believe that something's being hidden, and you start thinking, why are they hiding this? So like when I started watching this deal here, I started reading some of the reports where they said he was having some family issues, marital issues. So I don't know. Part of me initially thought maybe they killed him and they put him in this car. But the more I started reading, I don't know. I was of the belief that maybe he just flipped out. But yet, I read the email that he sent to the podcaster, former intel guy that Doug's talking about, but it just seemed like it was a lot of rambling. And I don't know enough about the UFO, those foreign objects, those things that look like drones or whatever they are. I don't know much about that. But it's just, I think our government our investigators tend to hold on information on specific cases that leads you to believe they're hiding something for political purposes. And to me, the Vegas one was something big. Some of the shooting cases that have happened, that something will come out immediately. All right, this is who it is. And others, they won't release nothing till it has to get released through freedom of information. So I don't know. It's a little crazy.
Well, Bobby, I don't remember reading anything, because I saw that show that Doug is talking about, and I saw that gentleman come on that show, and I kept looking at my spam, see if he sent us anything, which he didn't. Disappointing. But going back to what Doug, I don't remember reading anything about UFOs. I know that he talks about Russia, about the drones, about China, and I even think he alludes to the fact that all these drones that were flying during December over New Jersey, he alludes to that. But did he mention something about UFOs? Because Roger just said as soon as he said UFOs, they got him. Do you remember them saying something about that? Doug, you back on?
Yeah,
I'm
Doug.
trying to log in.
Okay, you're in, brother. We got you.
As soon as Doug said,
I don't have anything on my side.
Okay,
no,
yes.
As soon as Doug said UFO, the CIA disconnected him. I think that's what happened. Roger,
That's
you're
what
right.
it was.
Assholes.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I don't see anything on my screen, so I'm in the dark. So
We could see you perfectly, Doug. We could see you.
We can
Okay,
see you and
I'm
hear
just
you.
gonna pull up the video on my phone while I can watch while I talk. Anyways, where did I stop? Where did I freeze up at the pill stuff, at the TikTok?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, so he was talking about how he's got information on these anti-gravity things that they don't they don't have. They're super fast, they're super maneuverable. We don't have anything that can intercept these things or even detect these things. I guess they're supposed to have like unlimited payloads. If you think about that kind of technology, if we have that, I mean that's tremendous. I mean, how do you track something like that? I mean, it'd be impossible. So. That kind of stuff concerns me a little bit, and see if I can adjust this a little bit. Anyway, he was talking about that, and then you're saying he was being followed by the FBI, followed by the CIA because basically he wanted to be a whistleblower. Now, I don't know if he'd ever reached out to anybody within Congress or anything like that, but he was definitely reaching out to people that were former military or former special forces guys that he thought he could trust with the information. And it turns out he actually sent an email to Ryan also. And they found out that night. But anyways, I have some troubles with some of the things that they've said. One was, obviously they're, I don't know, Bobby, you probably worked with some of those JSOC guys when you were deployed, especially in Iraq. Those guys are all squared away guys. I mean, they do, I'm sure they do suffer. In fact, I know they do suffer from PTSDs and traumatic brain injuries from different things. But these guys were all, very smart, very capable people. And, God only knows, what these guys go through, but also their assignments. I mean, they're entrusted to do some crazy stuff for the government and for the United States. So who knows what special projects he may have been involved in. The guy spent 19 years in the service. So, I don't know. But
real quick, when I was overseas, I worked with a MIT team, a military intelligence team. So the paramilitary CIA guys were like the go-to people. We would go, hey, we need this. We got phone number. And when bin Laden was killed, I was in Mosul when it happened, and a task force came from who knows where. They showed up with jumpsuits with no markings. And when they showed up, I mean, I remember talking, one was a SEAL and the other one was a Marine. I think he was a Force Recon. They were all JSOC. And, I'm talking to these guys. One guy was on his 12th deployment.
Yeah.
Another one was on his 9th deployment. These are professional soldiers. This is their whole life. Most of them have been married multiple times because, like, you're never home. They don't even raise their own kids. It's a tough life. So part of me says I can imagine what they have seen, friends getting killed, all this, but those guys are so squared away. It's like on TV, they make these guys like, they look like bodybuilders. No, they're lean, trim, very intellectual types. They're smart. You can't get to these units being a dummy.
Oh, I mean, I mean, first of all, they've all got, language skills. They all speak some language. I mean, you don't get them, these are the guys that get embedded with the locals, the indigenous folks, so that they speak the languages. They know the cultures. They know how to interact with these folks. They're teaching them how to be, soldiers. They're teaching them how to dig wells and make their villages survive. I mean, there's like all around. I mean, these are some brilliant people that are in these units. And maybe he did suffer from those things and he just did this. But the idea that he did this because he just found out that his son wasn't his son because some DNA test came back or something to that effect. I mean, he's probably been through rougher things than that. But if that's the case, he wouldn't have. I don't think he would have left that manifesto type thing. I don't like calling it a manifesto either, because it's not really a manifesto. I mean, he said he wanted a wake up. He wanted a wake up call because the only thing the American people, and the press for that matter, if it bleeds, it reads, right. I mean, nobody wants to see something that isn't sensational. So how do you make it sensational? I mean, you set off a truck in front of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. I mean, that's about as sensational as you can get.
And Doug, where I knew that our government was once again lying to us was when they brought that up, that his DNA, because they were trying to throw the spin that he went off because of a divorce. His DNA did not match his son's. Since when do we match a son's DNA? We got familiar DNA. We can match an uncle, a cousin. You know what I mean? But when they use that, and the reason they use that, I saw the government once again using that as a spin, showing he went off because it was a domestic dispute. The DNA did not match the son. Therefore, he was disappointed. And when I saw that, I go, here we go. They're lying to us.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to go there. You know what I mean? They didn't need to go there.
He has a wife and a 7-month-old daughter also.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
And a father and probably brothers and sisters.
And all,
yeah.
And he's not that old. His parents might still be around. I mean, let's
I think he was 36 years old.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of other ways to do that, but
Doug, one of the things that I see here, and I'm probably wrong. I mean, I'm not in the mix anymore. There is what I'm reading and what I'm reading. Basically, that's basically it. What I'm seeing. I saw that same episode with that gentleman that you're talking about. Is that I believe that he was privy to a lot of things that are going on right now in America, including those drones, including things that are happening with China. I don't even worry about Russia. It's more China, to be honest with you. And that he didn't know how to get the word out. What better way than doing what he did? He wasn't anti-Trump. He wasn't anti-government. He basically went there so the word could get out. He was trying to reach out to people, interview me, do something. And this is his way of sending a message, a hero. He's an American hero, basically saying the news, it ain't telling you this. The government isn't telling you this, but this is what is happening, what is going to happen with these drones, whether it's Russia, I believe it's China. And he basically sacrificed himself. So today, you, myself, and Bobby, and everybody that's listening can talk about it.
Yeah, and there's some it's like, for me, I'm just like that sheriff said, he's not convinced that he's 100% that it's him. I still had questions, like I said, about the tattoos and about the ID cards, because the inside of that truck was destroyed. The interior was destroyed. The other thing that I find interesting is that, and I read this, and I don't remember where I read it from, but they had some people some forensic type people talking, and One of them was a guy that talked about the video where you see the truck pull up, and then with, like they said, within like 17 seconds, then it blows up. But everybody says that he killed himself, he shot himself when he arrived. Well, there's on the videos, there's no like flash, or there's nothing inside the interior of that truck that would indicate a fire had gone off. And
let me play the video one more time. The 10-second video. Here we go.
Yeah.
See that there? That's north on the boulevard from Sands at 8:39, where he then immediately heads to the Trump Hotel, pulls into the valet area, and as of course you all know, the explosion occurs within 17 seconds of his arrival at the valet. There's some additional investigative updates that are going to be provided to you.
Yeah, you don't see anything inside,
No.
even though the camera was far away.
Yeah, and there's closer cameras. There's videos. There's videos right inside the in the Sallyport area of the hotel that would have a closer view. But it turns out that he's he used a 50 caliber Desert Eagle. Now, I wasn't sure which caliber it was until this, but they come in 357, 44 mag, and the 50 cal pistol rounds. But I mean, that's a hell of a round. It's going to put off some. You're going to see some type of concussion in there. You're going to see something. But
Now, Doug, Chris makes a good point. These trucks drive themselves. I mean, do you think that by the time that truck made that turn, he already had programmed it and he already had a device set up and he was already dead by the time that truck got there?
He could have. And here's the other thing. I said, those vehicles, everything's recorded in those vehicles. I don't know. I mean, I know we had a case out here where we had one of our neighbors in our neighborhood got their Tesla broken into, and they were able to go back online and figure out who the suspects were because it was all recorded. So there's pictures of the guy walking by the car and getting in the car and stealing stuff out of the car, and it's all coming from the car. So I'm sure that truck has the same type of technologies.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you would
Tesla,
know,
without a doubt.
I mean, you would know off a download, and I think everything works off the cloud, so they would know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And here's what's really interesting too is that when was the last you heard anything about this? It just it's just like it's done.
It just disappeared.
It just disappears. And what happens when things disappear is like, okay, they got the point across. And I don't know. He in my mind he's most likely dead. But I don't know for sure. You can't go along with that, and I don't know. That the sheriff's department out there is going to have, I don't know if they relinquished the case to the FBI. I'm not clear on that either. I don't know why they would have, because technically it's a suicide, so it would be their jurisdiction. It's not a federal crime to kill yourself, unless you're on a federal installation, I guess, but.
Now, Doug, why aren't we talking more about? I know we're not going to call it a manifesto. Let's just, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? We'll call it manifesto just here right now, just so we could refer to a point. Yeah. I know it's not though, but let's just call it that. Why aren't we talking more about that? About the message that he wanted America to hear. What exactly is your, Bobby, both of you, what are your interpretations of what you've read and what you've heard that he wanted America to hear? What's your interpretations of that?
Well, it's I don't know. I maybe because it doesn't fit the narrative that they want to spin. I have no idea. I mean,
but the narrative, you're hearing it from the gentleman, and he has nothing to spin. I mean, he read a lot of it online of what he received.
Right.
So I don't think he's part of the news media. He's not part of the mafia here. So
No.
it's what you heard from him. What did he mean? What did he want America to hear?
I think. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I think Mathew put it out to those guys because he knew they would put it out on their, because he wants everybody to know that the government's been lying to him. So he's indicating in his writings that, you know, these drones that, you know, everybody keeps telling us, oh, we don't know what they are, but don't worry about them, they're not harmful. Well, how can you make a statement that you don't know what they are and that they're not harmful? You can't. You can't say don't worry about something even though we don't know what it is and we don't know where it's coming from. That makes no sense whatsoever. Never has. When the first time they said it, I says, well, that's nonsense. Why would we not be worried about something we can't identify? Of course we need to worry about it. And, you know, and then you get your officials up there. One Kirby, you know, the spokesperson for DOD or whatever he is, John Kirby. He gets out there and says, you know, well, most of these sightings that people are reporting are misidentified. They're either recreational drones or they're airplanes that have been misidentified. Well, okay, that's easy to take care of because the way it was explained on the drones is, you know, if it's a commercial drone, you have to have a pilot's license to fly those things, and they all transmit something for the FAA. So we know what's in the air, right? We know what all the planes are that are in the air. So that would be easy to say, okay, you know, okay, here's video and here's reports from police officers, deputy sheriffs, state troopers, civilians, everybody else saying, you know, we're seeing these things flying all over the place. It'd be easy to say, well, we have a record of these aircraft flying within these times and these locations, but they're not even telling us that because they don't have them.
Yep.
They don't have them. And there's only two conclusions to that. One is they're ours or they're somebody else's. I'm inclined to think that they're probably ours. Otherwise, they wouldn't be telling us that, don't worry about it.
Yes. Betty's right. It's just stopped.
Yeah. It just, everything stops. You know, it's like mainstream media is not covering it. You Google it. When was the last story written about that? I mean, it's like pulling eye teeth to find this stuff, and no one's talking about it anymore.
Well, initially they were attacking the messenger that the email that the podcaster, what was his name, Mathew? What was his name?
The podcast guy, if it was little something, I don't remember his name off.
Well, the podcaster, they said that email is a fake email, and they're very disappointed. Even Sebastian Gorka came out and said, "Oh, fraud, everything else." Yeah. And then the next day, the FBI had to come out and go, "Oh, by the way, that email did come from him."
Yeah.
Another little tidbit here. Back when they were having the UFO hearings on Capitol Hill, my son-in-law is an F-35 fighter pilot. I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" You know, we're just having a smoke, and he says, personally, he says, "I think there are some of them are things that we cannot explain, but some of those drone sightings, I think there probably are stuff." Yeah. Or he said, "It's not the Russians. The Russians don't have the technology. If anybody would, it'd be us or the Chinese," is what he said.
Right. It's called, JC mentioned, it's Sean Ryan podcast. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, he's the one that had the podcast, but his guest is another podcast guy. I think his last name is Little, or it's Little something. I have to look it up, but he's the one that actually got the email from Mathew. So
did Sean Ryan say that it was a fake email, Doug?
No, not him. He completely believes that. And actually, if you watch the Sean Ryan show, when they're discussing the emails, he says, "Hey, we're going to take a break. I'm going to have my guys scrub my site to see if there was, something in there." And sure enough, they found that he had sent a similar message to Sean Ryan, and it was like on the, contact me at this, when you do a website and they have that, contact us here. Well, it was hidden within there, and they found it. So he says, well, looks like he's reaching out to all kinds of different people trying to get this information out.
Yes, JC's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shoemate. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Shoemate.
Jason's right on that.
Yeah. I'll tell you that, JC, he's on it, man. Thank you, JC.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just bothers me that, okay, if you just think about how much money and how much time the U.S. government spent in training and developing Mathew to do the job that he's been doing all this time. He's not a knucklehead. He's not a guy that's going to go off half-cocked. Did he suffer from things? I'm sure he did. I mean, a lot of people do. But there was something about what was going on in his professional life that he felt so strongly about that he thought that the only way he can get this information out was to take his own life and send out that email to all these guys. That's pretty powerful in itself right there. But like I said, I'm still not
if he took
that he's dead.
If he took his own life.
If he took his own life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like, did he really take his life, or did someone else take it for him? And they set up this narrative.
Right.
Because he definitely went on the run. That's for sure.
And and one of the other things to me, I think that in a way it was like, was this something to take us away from the terrorist attack that happened in New Orleans? Because
Bobby, the FBI was adamant it was not a terrorist attack.
Right.
You remember?
Yeah,
they were adamant that it
yeah.
wasn't a terrorist attack. New Orleans chief of police was calling it, but the FBI was, now they've changed, but that day they were adamant it was not a terrorist attack.
Yes. Yeah. And which brings us, it maybe can take us into another topic, which I think we talked offline, is that what can we expect here? So let's say, what can we expect in the future as far as terrorism, especially with our borders wide open? And Doug and I, we've seen what happens in other countries when there are complex terrorist attacks.
Oh my gosh.
We've seen them. They're scary if those ever come to our country, because we've both seen them overseas.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming, guys. It's coming. So I'm sorry about the train in the background. Usually I try to mute myself, but I can't see any buttons on my computer. It'll pass here in a second. But yeah, Bobby, you're right. I mean, and unfortunately, I think, and we were talking before we came on about stuff. So for all the first responders, and even all the good folks out there that run to the disaster. So, if you have one of those bombs go off, your inclination is to run right to it to help those that may have been injured. Unfortunately, there's usually a secondary that goes with that. So, and sometimes they're delayed, and they're the ones that want to catch the first responders, the firefighters, the paramedics, the police officers, and those type A personalities that are going to run to the danger, and then they end up getting injured or killed because of the secondary blast or the secondary attack, however they plan it out. And I don't think that we're prepared for that. We're just not prepared for it.
Hey, Bobby and Doug, it looks like Carlos is not going to come on. He texted me just now that I guess because of the Santa Ana winds, and he lives somewhere up in the mountains in Escondido somewhere. I don't know where exactly he lives. They're having a lot of high winds there. His internet is down. So that's a good point, Bobby. Let's go there. You know what I mean? We still got plenty of time. Let's go there. What's your opinion, Bobby and Doug, on what does America look like in 2025? Our President Trump is going to be inaugurated next Monday. When does it start? How does it start? And are we prepared? Either one of you. It's to both of you.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I've been out of the game for 10 years now. I mean, so I don't know what what their training updates are for law enforcement anymore on that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I really don't know. I can tell you from personal experience, and Chris was on the squad, is when we were working plainclothes down in, we were in the gang unit, obviously, and we were working the Super Bowl events when we had, I think it was, I'm sure it was the Bucks and the Raiders were in town to play the Super Bowl. And we were in the gas lamp area, which was basically locked down because all the NFL parties and stuff were going on down there. And there was a club called I believe it was called the Blue Tattoo, maybe. It's kind of an underground type location. And we were about, I don't know, 3 or 4 businesses to the north of it. And we heard what was like gunshots coming from inside the club. So the squad, I mean, our first reaction was we started running towards there. You know, trying to run through those crowds you couldn't do it. But, you know, the crowd pulsated. It was like, I don't know if you can see my hands, but it pulsated. So it went out and it collapsed and then went out again. And
during the gunshots?
Yeah, right after the gunshot. So, you know, the crowd wasn't sure what to do, and then everybody started running out, and we were running in.
And you guys are in plain clothes, no police vest. You guys in plain clothes, so they don't know who you are. You're running.
They don't know who we are. I mean, we pulled out our badges, but that, you know, no one's looking for your badge. And it turned out to be nothing. It turned out to be, you know, someone set off a firework or something. But the idea is that we were going in, so there was this pandemonium there, in our community, and it turned out that we were on a different, you know, radio frequency than the responding units in the area were on, and dispatch wasn't even monitoring us, so we were talking to ourselves, and it was a mess. So all I'm trying to say is that unless you train and unless you do that, I mean, you've got to be consistent on that. You've got to have updated training and all that stuff, because I don't know if there was ever a time where I worked at the PD, even after 9/11, before I went to, I mean, it was 4 years before I went to Afghanistan after 9/11. I don't think we got any additional real training on how to respond to, you know, a terrorist attack. And we just had a major one. There was nothing, there was no, you know, it was more of like, here, look, these are things to look out for. You know, look for people that are scoping out airports and, you know, transportation hubs and that kind of thing, but nothing about what do you do when something happens? What, you know, is there a countywide, you know, comm center that we use? Do we go to the highway patrols? Do we go to the sheriffs? Which ones? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they've done that right now.
And you know, Doug, you're absolutely right. And let me jump in because JC is watching right now. I can't say where JC works. It's a federal agency. It's the government. They forget the federal thing. It's a government agency.
Yeah.
He's currently assigned to Washington, D.C. He's there. I mean, he's there. And it's funny that he says, I don't know what he meant by this. You guys may know they training a lot of DEI, and then he reiterates by saying we waste a lot of man hours on inclusion and diversity training amongst other political agenda training, shaking my head. And it's exactly what you're saying. This DEI, what does he mean by that, guys? Do you understand that acronym?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, okay. So that's why he goes and he tells us again. So it doesn't look like they're training for that lone wolf, which I foresee. We saw it. We just saw it in New Orleans. I foresee that being a first plan of attack by Al Qaeda, by a terrorist organization.
And it could be. Here's the other thing, Dave. If you think about these things, it's like, how often do we see an incident like this happen? I don't care if it's a school shooter, someone who goes to the mall and shoots up, or a theater, like you know, the kid that did the theater at the Batman premiere in Colorado. How many times we heard afterwards that family or friends or somebody saw something on the internet, or they made a post, or, you know, describing what they were going to do, and no one said anything. No one says anything. until afterwards, and then it's too late. Or how many times have you heard the authorities, whether it's a local authority or mostly it's the FBI that we hear about, say, "Oh yeah, we were tracking that guy, but we dropped it. We dropped the investigation a year ago." And then he does it. It's like, but you never hear it about any accountability. And I get it. I mean, I know all the personnel issues, and Dave, you do, and Bobby also. You understand all that, where they don't release the personnel information of employees and stuff. But there could be an announcement that says that there was discipline or someone was removed. You don't have to say who it was. You don't have to say who the investigator was, but you could say, you know what, that investigator, we were looked into it, and they lost their job, or, they were suspended or something, anything. But, there is no accountability and there's no transparency. So what's the general public to think? And right now we're the general public. We're not in the business any longer. So we know as much as everybody else does, unless we have, still have contacts somewhere that shares us.
Well, JC right here, he says, I'm part of the D.C. National Guard, Washington, D.C. And then he reiterates, going a couple of days ago, we got an email. They pretty much said the bathroom on the first floor is no longer a unisex bathroom. I mean, that's more important. You know what I mean? Thank you, JC, for sharing that. I know, Bobby, you want to get on, but let me just say something. One of the conversations that we had, for whatever reason, I thought the Joint Terrorist Task Force, that they had their hands in social media. If you said certain words, whether it was on Facebook, on Twitter, on X, or whatever, certain words like kill Donald Trump, kill president, Al-Qaeda, that the algorithms would automatically send certain keywords to JTTF, to the CIA, forget the CIA, Joint Terrorist Task Force, multi-agency. To me, that's more powerful domestically, than the CIA domestically. But it doesn't seem that that's happening, because this guy that, committed that lone wolf act in New Orleans, on his way there, he's talking about going over there. And he's also talking about telling his family, you're lucky, I'm going to kill somebody else other than you, cousin so-and-so and aunt so-and-so and mother and father, whatever. You know what I mean? So I was always led to believe, don't say anything stupid. I love Al-Qaeda. I'm loyal to them, because you know what? It's social media. It's going to eat immediately. But I guess we're not doing that. That it's not the algorithm not catching those type of words. You know what I mean? Am I wrong here, guys? Go ahead, Bobby. I know you've been wanting to get on. Go ahead, brother.
It's like this. We did a wiretaps. You do a wiretap, and everybody that you listen to thinks they're being listened to. If if criminals knew how time intensive and how hard it is to get a wiretap, they would probably feel much more secure. If we're listening to you, you are somebody so big, or your luck was bad enough to get some dope from somebody connected to somebody that we're listening to. Most likely we weren't listening to you, because it's so time intensive. Now, the other thing that scares me, we're talking about homegrown lone wolf terrorists right now. But let's think of, you cross the border. You come across the border, you get rid of your ID. We literally go on the honor system. If your fingerprints are not on our database, I mean, we can't get a hold of Mexico and say, do you got this guy's prints? And imagine people coming from the Islamic world, people who are radical or have been radicalized, and they'll say, like the Hispanics, my name is Jose Garcia. Okay, no prints. His master name will be Jose Garcia. That guy could go, we really don't know what his real name is. We know nothing about him. And then you got these, right now what I'm more worried about is sleeper cells, international terrorists from the Islamic world waiting to just launch a complex wave attack in the U.S., where they're going to, they always pick soft targets, go somewhere where they think there'll be less resistance. And remember, these people are people, their end game is they want to die. They're going to kill as many people as they can, whether shoot, explode something. And when I was in Iraq, we used to see the type of attacks that were the scary ones. I was telling Doug, I got to find the video. I got surveillance video of a car bomb went off in Chacon. I was in Mosul. In Chacon, in front of a government where the police and government officials were at, a small bomb goes off, flips a car over. Everybody's out there looking, peeking through the window. People are eating, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes. Somebody is shooting from up on the top floor, just like, hey, look at this, with their cell phone. All of a sudden, the secondary hits. It's a massive blast. And now the next video is somebody running around trying to provide first aid. Then suicide bombers blow themselves up. It was carnage. Burnt bodies, mangled bodies. We got out there the next day. We tried to get out there that day to try to do site exploitation. But by the time we got out there, everything had been hosed down and it's pretty much over. But for us, we have no idea who we're paroling into our country. We have to go on if they're not in our system, it is an honor system. We literally are letting people in on an honor system. And it's always been like that, even with people coming from Latin American countries, if they're not in our NCIC or whatever else database we have. Now imagine people showing up, and I'm a goat herder from rural Iraq or Afghanistan, and yet they're tied into Al Qaeda, they're ISIS, they're one of the other groups, Al Shabaab, and then they come into our country, get together, and they're not communicating with each other. They're a cell. They figured out if they communicate, they're going to get detected, and they're just waiting to launch an attack from within a cell. That is something that could hit us and catch us with our pants down, and we're going to have to adjust how we do that.
Well, let me tell you something. Come Monday, when Donald Trump gets inaugurated, come Tuesday morning, our governor here in Florida, Ron DeSantis, is calling back the Senate to come back and implement a new law. Will implement basically policy for the state of Florida to basically follow Donald Trump's mandate that come Tuesday morning, go after all these criminal illegal aliens in Florida. And he's having a hard time bringing, the speakers back to the House. But I'm sure there's other states. So all these people that did get across that are here, you know what? They're not going to be here for long. Because I truly do believe that come Tuesday morning, come Tuesday morning, there's a new sheriff in town. And there's definitely going to be some major changes. And one of them is they're going to be arrested and they're going to be sent back either to Guantanamo, to prison, or back to their countries. Guys, time is against us. With that said, Doug, any closing comments on our topic? And then Bobby, we'll go to you, and then we'll go to who our guests are going to be next week.
Yeah, the only thing I would have to say is just be vigilant out there. I mean, I don't want people, don't live life paranoid, but just be aware. Be aware of your surroundings. Live your life. Live it to its fullest, but just be aware of what's going on around you. And if something doesn't feel right, then it's not right. Listen to the hairs on the back of your neck. There's a reason why they're there. There's a book, and I can't think of who the author is. And my wife Kim, she turned me on to it years ago. It's called The Gift of Fear. Look that book up and read that book. It's really, really good. It talks about listening to your own intuitions. You do have a sixth sense when it comes to things. Don't ignore it. Yes. Animals don't ignore it. We try to we ignore that, and we try to say that we're at a higher plane, and we will make excuses for everything. But there's a reason why you have those feelings. Do not ignore those feelings.
Without a doubt. Bobby, any last words on the episode?
Yeah, you ever been around an earthquake and your dog feels it before you do? Your dog will haul ass and get the hell out of there. I've been at an earthquake and my dog is like, hey, where's he going? And all of a sudden you feel it. So, head on a swivel, buddy checks, as Chris Kilby says. Always got to do the buddy checks. Always.
Yeah.
Guys, next week, next Tuesday, we got Mike Vigil, who was on our show on Ash Wednesday. He's going to be on the Great Line at 6 o'clock next Wednesday. It's going to be a great episode. Benny got a hold of him. He's going to be talking about a lot of things that he didn't talk on our show. He talked about Chapo Guzman's son kidnapping or bringing Mayo Zambada. Next week, he's going to talk about his career. We also have on our show next week, we have a gentleman by the name of Fred Cross. He's been a chaplain, volunteer chaplain, I believe, for close to 20 years with the LA Sheriffs. He has a full-time job. He lives in Texas, and he flies down once a month to go on ride-alongs with the LA Sheriffs. But prior to moving there, he went out 2 or 3 times a week, and he was assigned for all these years to Compton. And he has some, as a chaplain, some great stories. This guy is a bodybuilder. This guy is in his 50s, could bench press like 500 pounds. But you know what? He loves God and he loves his community, and he's been assigned to Compton as a chaplain. So the stories that we're going to hear next week are going to be outstanding. He's going to be with us from Texas. And we also have the legend, man, Ruben Nava. He's currently a chaplain. I talked to him last night. We were talking on the phone. And he goes, David, he goes, I got to let you go because I'm on my way right now to the fires. And he was at the fires last night. He was at the command post praying and talking to the deputies, talking to the victims of the fires. So Ruben's going to give us an update on the fires. He's going to be with us. So guys, next week, we're going to have a great episode. I'm waiting for one more phone call of a Border Patrol agent that is a chaplain, current chaplain with Border Patrol in Imperial Beach, Doug. And I'm hoping that he's going to be on, but if he can't, we'll have him. He's trying to get permission from his command staff, if they allow him, because he's still on the job. But Ruben is definitely 10-4. Fred is definitely 10-4. We're going to have a great episode next week. Nice. Guys, with that said, looking forward to next week. We're going to have a great episode. And like Chris Kilby says, if you haven't talked to somebody in a while, please give that buddy check. Give that guy that one call. And Bobby, I'm going to end it with you. End it with your son's when he talked to the doctor or to his pastor, when he says, trust the process, but trust the author. You know what I mean? And to us, the author is Jesus Christ. Go ahead, Bobby. We'll end it with you.
When the pastor told that to my son, I had mentioned my son's daughter, my granddaughter, 7 years old. We thought she had cancer. It turned out it was a rare form of anemia. She had to go through chemo, some light chemo, and was not able to go to school because her immune system was really low. And trust the process. She started school in January. She had not been able to school, was being home taught, and she's got a clean bill of health. So like my son said, my son is a combat veteran Marine at the time. He went to this pastor from his church who was a Vietnam vet from the Tet Offensive, a Marine. And my son went to him and said, I've lost brothers in the battlefield. My son fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he said, Dad, this brought me to my knees. But as we said, he trusted the process. And my granddaughter, thank God, is back in school and she's healthy.
We trusted the author, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
God bless you. We'll see you guys next week.
Amen. Amen.
Used to spend my nights out in the ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey.